What's up, gentlemen? There's a sign-up sheet up here if you don't mind. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon.
How's it going?
I have a question.
Sure.
I signed up my son
Mhm.
this week. I put the papers in the mailbox on Tuesday evening. And
Okay.
I have to call the
To double check?
office. Yes,
Okay.
they got the papers. So.
I'll tell you what, the sign-up sheet right up
Oh,
here.
okay.
If he's not over yonder, can you just put his name on it?
Yeah, sure.
And then
So-
call it tomorrow.
Yes, I will call
Yeah, very
them
good.
tomorrow. But I put all the papers because I spoke with the lady in the office,
Mm-hmm.
and I have fill all the papers, but
Okay.
I'm too busy.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
If you guys want a notebook, you can grab one. If you don't have a folder, you can grab one. Hello.
Hello, I'm Teresa's friend. That's Lily with the paperwork and all that.
Very good.
Okay, thanks.
Awesome. Thanks very much. So you guys know there's a sign-in sheet in the front, and you guys don't have to sit in the very front, but can you kind of do a little front? There's notebooks, there's pens and pencils, there's folders. If you guys need one, if you didn't bring one, feel free. Great. Thanks very much. Nice to meet you.
Just going to do that for you real quick. I just can't think of
Of course.
Okay.
Good question. I'll have you. What age group is it tonight? I'm not sure.
8th, 9th, and 10th.
8, 9, 10.
Yep. How's everybody doing? Good? Everybody ready for confirmation class? If you came to the first class, thank you for coming to the second one, because I know the first one was a little long and a little boring. So thank you for that. Did everybody sign the sign-in sheet?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So first off, I'm sorry that the way this class is sort of set up, there's a lot of us in here, so it's a little, it's not quite as conversational and casual. It would be nicer if it was just a little, back and forth, whatever. But the way it is going to be a little lecturing. So, can we all stand up and we'll start off with an Our Father? Okay. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Our Father, who art in heaven. Is that we all do, okay? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thank you. So, like I said, this is going to be a lot of lecturing, and I apologize. If anybody gets here late, please tell them to sign the sign-in sheet before they go. So, real quick, if you didn't sign the sheet, you can do it before you leave. Don't forget. Well, I mean, you can do it now. It doesn't matter. It's right up here at the table. If you're not on there, put your name on. So if somebody asked me in last class, am I going to be the cell phone Nazi and like flip out? Somebody's like looking at their cell phone. The answer is no, because you guys are adults. The whole point of the combination is you guys are becoming an adult. So if you need to look at your cell phone, it's for a reason. Could be your parents, could be whatever. So just hopefully I'm looking at top people's heads all night. You ever hear your teacher tell you if you get caught cheating on a test, what do they always tell you? You get a 0. What else do they tell you? Do they ever tell you you're only hurting yourself? Yeah. Is that kind of annoying? So, you guys go by that? So, I'll kind of just sort of like talk about that for a second. Here's just a little fun fact. So, when I was in college, I used to attend bar. I used to work behind a bar. A couple years after that, I found out I ended up teaching a bartending class, which was a lot of fun. And it was a 2-week class. People came in, they paid to take it. It was about 2 weeks. And at the end of the week, you learned all about mixing drinks, how to do things, and ins and outs of working at a bar. And at the end of the 2 weeks, you're supposed to take a speed test to see how fast you can make like 10 drinks or whatever. And there's a written test. So one day there's a guy, he's taking a test, right? And I look at him and he's got the answers on his hand, right? He's writing them down. So I said, guy, why are you cheating on this test? It's not high school. I'm not gonna call your mother, if you don't pass it. I said, you paid like $500 to take the class, and you're gonna cheat on the test and leave. So I told him, just study more, come back next week and do it again. And that's kind of what I want to kind of tell you guys. Like, honestly, this is really meant to be. It's meant to be something that I hope you will sort of remember years down the road. There's a lot of things in this class I hope you will sort of take with you and remember. But at the end of the day, it is for you. So I hope you will enjoy it and kind of take advantage of it. So I want to start off by giving you a promise from me. There's nothing I will ever tell you in this class that I don't believe with my whole heart. That is a promise. If I don't believe it wholeheartedly, I won't tell you. If you ever ask me something I don't feel like talking about, I'll say, well, I'm not going to talk about that. I will never tell you something just for the sake of telling you. There's a great song there. I didn't come all this way just to fool you. There's a reason why I'm here and you're here. It's not to talk about things that we don't believe. And also, I don't assume anything about you guys. If I ever say, like, if we'll be talking about how we act, right? How we present ourselves, how we act, how it means to be good people. Doesn't mean I think we're bad people. It just means, we talk about the fundamentals, right? So, again, please take everything. Don't ever take offense to anything I say. It's not, directing anybody like that. The other thing is, I'm not an expert at what I'm telling you. I'm really not. So a lot of teaching for me, there's an expression that you don't know a subject completely until you've been able to teach it to someone else. So I think I'm going to actually learn a lot from you guys. And you're going to help me to learn a lot of things as well. So real quick, I'm going to start off by telling you a secret. Not really a secret, probably something you sort of already know, but it's probably in the back of your mind. You probably sort of forget it a lot. When your parents get on you and they tell you, be responsible, shape up, do things, be more responsible, all that good stuff, what they're really telling you is that they want you to be happy. That they really, really, truly want you guys to be happy all the time, to believe it or not, to have a fun life. And the things that they kind of nag you about, things they tell you to do, I swear to you that they only tell you that because they know very well it's going to help you down the road. And interestingly, you guys are sort of at that age where parenting is not, it's not what it was when you were little, right? I mean, when you're babies, your parents, they feed you, they dress you, they do all kinds of things. For the most part, you're kind of handling all of that by yourself. So parenting sort of goes into this weird phase where it's really all about just making sure you guys don't do anything dumb, right? And, and again, please don't take offense. I'm not saying anything to do, but you probably are at the age now, especially, because you're the older kids and you're, high school, just starting high school. You've already seen friends doing pretty dumb things, right? Getting themselves into trouble, things that you know very well, because you're not dumb. You know very well that it's going to come back and bite them, like probably sooner rather than later, right? And your parents, their job at this point is to sort of steer you away from that stuff, So, when they nag, honestly, cut them some slack, because they only do it, and I know they tell you this, and I know this sounds like, I know. They only do it because they love you and they adore you, and they just really want you to be happy. And as we go forward, we're going to talk about a lot of these sort of ideas. And in the back of your minds, even as I say that, you might be thinking to yourself, yeah, but isn't life kind of about getting into a little trouble? Like, I kind of want to get into a little trouble here and there, and I'm sure I'll get myself out of it. I'm sure I won't get myself in that big trouble ever. And I would say to a big extent, sure, that's not totally untrue, right? I think even if your parents were sitting here, they would say, yeah, I want you to enjoy all that life has to offer, just not the bad stuff. And even the tiny little bit of bad stuff is okay, as long as you don't kind of go off the deep end. Because there's two things I would say to that. First of all, life will always hand you trouble. Right? There will always be obstacles in life, right? But what we're hoping is that the quality of the trouble is better, if that makes any sense. Basically, if you can avoid, for example, and like I said, you've probably already seen your friends getting into this kind of trouble already. If you can avoid sitting in your room and doing drugs, right? Well, maybe instead of that, maybe you and your friends rent a boat, take it out on the lake, and have like an awesome day, right? If you're not, flipping out in your room one night because you're paranoid about pregnancy, if you can avoid that, well, in a couple more years, you and your friends like backpack across Europe. If you can avoid that kind of depression because of all the craziness that kind of goes on around you, etc. If you can avoid that, and God forbid, avoid suicide, maybe you'll go to the airport down the street, take a couple flying lessons, and maybe you'll be flying your friends down to the Outer Banks for a long weekend or something. There's too much good life out there to ever waste it on dumb stuff that only seems fun when you have like knucklehead friends telling you, oh yeah, do this, it's cool. So that's all I'll say about that. Okay. So we're supposed to talk about the commandments, right? We're going to talk about the second commandment. Who knows what it is? Anyone? How about this? You guys all have notebooks, right? In the first page of your notebook, on the top line, please write the 10 Commandments. I don't mean all 10, I mean literally just 3 words, the 10 Commandments across the top. And under that, why don't we put number 1, and we'll write down the first one. The row of black shirts, the one in the middle, with the mask on, what's the first commandment?
I don't know.
You don't know? Did you come last week to the first class?
Yeah.
You don't remember what it was? What was your name again? Jackson? Not a problem. You look pretty smart. You remember what the first one was? The very first commandment, I am the Lord your God. I am the Lord your God. Thou shalt not have any God before me. So under that, we'll do the second one. We'll put number 2. Anybody know what the second one is? The second one,
Don't take the Lord's name in vain.
good one. Don't take the Lord's name in vain, or thou shalt not take the Lord's name in vain. Thank you. So who knows, has an idea what that means? Don't take the Lord's name in vain. What does that mean? I see a hand. What's up? Come on.
Not to say, oh my God, if you're surprised or something.
Mm-hmm. Very good. I'm going to build on that a little bit. Yeah. Pretty much the way everybody sort of knows it is you don't say the Lord's name when you're angry, when you're, when you're cursing. So, but there's a lot more to it than that. That's a good start. The bigger meaning of that is don't do anything in the name of God that would be wrong. An example of that would be 9/11, right? Does everybody know what 9/11 is? Kind of blows their mind. You guys weren't even born when that happened. But here's a fun fact. I actually worked in the World Trade Center before 9/11. Not on 9/11, before that. So that was something that people did, and the people who did it claimed that they were doing it because of their God, right? Now, I would hate for that to be the case because 2 things happened that day. A lot of people were drawn back to church because when you experience something pretty terrible, it makes you want to go back and reconnect with God. The other thing it did for a few people, not a lot, but a few people kind of saw that as like, well, look, this is what religion gets you. If, crazy people do crazy things because of religion. And that's a primary example of why that's wrong, because now, people sort of, have tarnished God and religion in general. So how would this affect you? How does this commandment affect you personally? Other than, the idea, again, don't say God this and God that when you're angry, etc. Incidentally, by the way, I heard it said before, and I thought this was pretty interesting. I heard it said that even if you're angry at God, let's say things are really going bad, and you're kind of feeling like, God, where are you? If you look up to God and say, hey, what's up? And literally be like, God, I'm not really happy with you today. God doesn't like that. Because he would much rather you keep the lines of communication open than to just kind of, keep quiet and walk away and forget he's there. Now, hopefully that wouldn't happen too often. We all have bad times. Doesn't mean it's God's fault for sure. But again, talk to God. The best thing you can do is keep that line of communication with God open. It'll always steer you back on track, honestly. Have any of your parents ever said, well, let me ask you another way. Let's say you're going to a family party, you're dressed really sloppy. or you go into a school functioning and dress really funny, what does your mother always say?
Go home and change.
Don't change. That's very true. What else does she say? Mother ever say to you, if you do this, this is a reflection on me? Never? Did she ever say like, people are gonna think I'm a bad parent if you do this? That a little closer, a little warmer. What you got?
Someone's walked outside. Can I go let them in?
Didn't know that door was open. But thank you. Anybody who got here, by the way, a little late and didn't sign the sign sheet, you can either do it now or just do it before you leave. It's on the table. So anybody's parents, mother ever say to you, like, if you do this, people are gonna think I'm a terrible parent? Yeah. That's a good example of a bigger thing. The second commandment sort of also relates to how you represent the church, because you are all Catholics, right? Now, again, it doesn't mean that you're going to be, goody two shoes all the time, perfect, whatever. But it does mean that as Catholics, it's assumed that we're going to behave a certain way. At the very least, we're going to be kind to people, etc. Not be mean to people, etc. All that good stuff. Anybody here watch the Marvel movies? Yeah? I see a couple hands. Anybody see Doctor Strange? So, if you haven't, I won't spoil it. But there's a great line in the middle of that movie that I kind of think about a lot, especially when it relates to what we're talking about. Like I said, I won't spoil it, so I'll try to say it in a way that doesn't give anything away. But there's a big action moment, all right? A lot of drama, a lot of stuff going on, and something happens, and basically there's a moment where the two lead characters just have a moment to sort of talk to each other, right? You know what I'm talking about? And the idea is, Dr. Strange is talking to his teacher, right? And he is really good, right? He's really good at what he does. He's really smart. He's really talented, but he's a little arrogant, right? And his teacher is there, and she says, you've come so far. You're doing so well. You just haven't quite hit that moment yet, that moment where you sort of realize, your purpose. And once you hit that moment, you're going to be great, right? Once you figure out that secret, he says, well, what is that? And she says simply, it's not about you, right? What does that mean? Well, it means, and I think you guys will, this is sort of like a core fundamental for life. A lot of things we talk about in this class, it's not going to be just religion. And I hate saying it like that because there's nothing wrong with talking about religion. I mean, we are Catholics, and that's why we're here. We are talking about faith and our relationship with God. But one of the reasons why we talk about the Ten Commandments, and one of the reasons why I thought this was a great core, fundamental thing to talk about, is that they all relate to everyday life. And all of them, for lack of a better way to say it, are simply rules to help you get to where you want to go. If you follow these core tenets, I swear to you, it'll take you always to what is good, right, and successful. And it'll take you to where you want to be in life. And that core fundamental idea, it's not about you. It's the cornerstone of kind of everything you will do. You will find that if you choose to serve others, if other people are your core focus, life will always, doors will always open for you. Okay? Think about just as a very, an example would be your work. Okay? Everything you do when it comes to just how you're going to make money, right? It's all about serving other people. If you get a job, right? You could get a job, and your first job will probably be like this. You'll probably work at a pizzeria, you'll probably work at a fast food place, whatever, and you'll probably do all the kind of jobs that no one else wants to do. He'll give you all the worst jobs ever, right? Go clean this, go do that, and he'll pay you very little, right? As you start to get more skills, right? As you start to learn more, if you go to college, if you take some classes, do whatever, or just get more experience in that job, you'll start to do better things, more things. Why? Because you're offering this employer more, right? I can now do more for him than I could a year ago when I didn't know what I was doing, right? If you open a business, right? Before he died, why did Steve Jobs become a gazillionaire? Because he was inventing things that people really, really wanted. Why do we all have phones in our pocket now that cost like $1,000, right? A couple of years ago, I would have laughed at the idea that I'm going to pay $1,000 for a cell phone. We'll do it, right? Because it's that good. He invented something that everybody really wanted, and we were very willing to part with money to get it, right? So again, as you go through life, you'll realize, yes, if I think about what that person wants, I will get more of what I want in return, right? But if you do it for selfish reasons, it usually backfires. But if you really do think, I want to help that person out, things tend to work out. In relationships, here's another one. You will make more friends in 2 months by being interested in other people than you will in 2 years of trying to get people interested in you, right? And we see it all the time, don't we? Right? How about this? People will talk about you, right? It could be tomorrow, it could be a year from now, it could be many years from now where somebody says, hey, do you remember so-and-so from algebra class? Remember this person who we knew from wherever? Oh, yeah. Well, what are they going to say? If you were really busy trying to, and again, you've seen people like this, right? People who show off a lot, they're really loud, they drop a lot of F-bombs, they're always trying to get attention. And it's like, at the beginning it's kind of cute, but after a while it's like, all right, it gets boring, right? But you also know people who will say, hey, I like that shirt, or hey, I heard you in class today, that was pretty smart, right? Or hey, I like something about you. All of a sudden, that person's like your new friend, right? So again, you will, if you take an interest in other people, suddenly you become very popular, and for the right reasons. Does that make sense? One of the things I hope that you guys will sort of learn from these classes, I want to say it a different way. I want to say one of the things I hope I can gift you in these classes, but that's not exactly the right way to say it. I hope you guys get a sense of confidence. Confidence is one of those things that's tricky because it's hard to understand sometimes. People always talk about, confident people, and you think I'm confident, or you're not really sure sometimes. And sometimes it just boils down to just knowing yourself enough to sort of know what you want, what you'll settle for, what you'll put up with, and what you won't, right? You will run into situations where you say to yourself, I really don't feel like putting myself in a bad situation. I don't feel like, doing something dumb just to fit in. Because it's really about, I don't really feel like I need to put up with that, if that makes any sense. I said in the first class, I said, in school, we learn a lesson, and then afterwards we take a test. But in life, we're just tested. And after the test, we walk away with a lesson. But here in church, in your community, this is where you start to learn the lessons that will help you going forward. that way when you run into these tests, you won't be blindsided because you'll already have thought, I kind of know how I feel about this or that, whether or not to partake in this activity here because I've already sort of decided. You don't have to kind of, get with it and be completely blindsided and be like, I don't know what to do. Does that make any sense? Another core thing, I think of a better word, another core tenet, you will find that there are two kinds of people in life, and you probably know them already, right? There's the kind of person who will say, you know what? Yeah, I'm not perfect. Yeah, my life is not perfect. And you know what? It's this one's fault. Or it's because of that. Or it's my parents' fault. Or it's somebody else's fault, right? Like I said, you probably know people like that already. There's other people that'll say, yeah, my life is not perfect. My life is not where I want it to be right now. But you know what? That's okay. I don't have to be perfect. And I'm working on it. Right? And you'll see from there, people's lives can split in completely different directions, right? If they're just sort of honest with themselves and they say, yeah, I'm not perfect. I didn't handle everything right. If I wasn't right in this argument, maybe you're right. That person will always grow. They'll always get better. They'll always make more friends. As opposed to the other person who said, it's always this guy's fault. And by the way, a lot of what we're talking about, if you're sort of feeling like, well, it already sounds like me. I kind of already do it. I got that under control. Great. And hopefully, maybe, you might be the person who has a friend, who doesn't make right choices, doesn't do right things all the time, and maybe you'll be the one. For example, they'll say, you know what? They're a little smarter than me. Maybe I should follow their lead. Or maybe you'll say something to them one day that kind of resonates, and they're like, that makes a lot of sense. And they'll always you. Sometimes it could be as simple as, there's the kid in class who gets picked on a lot, right? And maybe you'll be the one to walk up to him and be like, hey, you know what? I like the shirt you're wearing. And all of a sudden, this person who was really in a funk, really in a depression, just needed one person to say something nice. It can make a big difference in somebody's life. You never know. So again, keep in mind, like I said, people, just because it's life, they're going to talk about you, right? And the big question is, what are they going to say? Did that person, you'll find there already people probably that that you say, I'm so glad that person is in my life because they made a difference, a real positive difference. Or you might know somebody and be like, that person just took the air out of the room and I could care less if I see them again. So keep that in mind. People are going to talk about you and what are they going to say? How are you going to represent yourself? Not just as a Catholic, as part of your family, etc. Is it going to take you to the right places? One of the things I kind of wanted to do in class, I don't know if the class is too big for it, was to have like questions and answers. If people wanted to ask questions, talk about things that we might not automatically talk about. Does anybody like that idea? Maybe a little bit. Okay. By the way, probably. I know I told like the first few people to take these when I walked in. Big favor.
Yeah.
Could you hand these out to that side and you hand these out to this side? Thank you so much. Boys in black. Did everybody get the page with the Did everybody get the page with the prayers on? Everybody get one of these? What's that? All right, bring it back. Oh, which one? Yeah. What you need? What's that? Maxwell? Yeah, absolutely. Everybody good? So at this point, everybody probably realizes why you have folders. Please keep these in your folder. Everybody good? So we're going to talk about some of the questions that are on this question sheet. Again, this is what they call Catholic doctrine. These are things that we will all know to be able to. You guys all have what you need back there? So who wants to read question 1? Who said that? Read question 1. The question is, who is God? What's the answer? Thank you. That makes sense, right? Question 2, what is man? Who wants to read that one? Would you read it for me?
Man created, composed of one, and made in the image and likeness.
Right. Man is a creature composed of body and soul and is made in the image of God. Why did God make you? Walk that out. Yeah. God made to know Him, to love Him, and to serve Him, and this world, and to be happy with Him forever in the next. Everybody good? Talking about God, right? You know, kind of. God we're talking about. Why can there be but one God? Why do you think there can only be one God? Exactly. There can be but one God because God, being supreme and infinite, cannot have an equal. What is the Blessed Trinity? Every time we say a prayer, we start off by doing what?
In the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Absolutely. Right? The Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. So the Blessed Trinity is one God in 3 divine persons. The Father is God and the first person in the Blessed Trinity. The Son is God and the second person in the Blessed Trinity. And the Holy Spirit is God and the third person in the Blessed Trinity. Question, are the 3 divine persons one and the same God? Who knows the answer to that? You want to take this one?
Sure. Which one was it?
Are the 3 divine persons one and the same God?
The 3 divine persons, one and the same God, have upon him the divine nature.
Yes, exactly. And lastly, who is Jesus Christ? Did you guys have anything?
Jesus Christ is God, the second person of the Trinity, and substantial, the same substance or essence with the Father who became man, one divine person with two natures, human and divine, who is fully God and fully man.
Yeah, consubstantial is a weird one. I remember when I first started saying that during prayers. I kind of didn't know what that meant either. But it does. It means of the same substance or essence with the Father. So please keep all of these questions and the prayers in your folder. We have a lot of time together between now and April. So please keep this all together, safe in one place. So those index cards that I gave you guys, if you are interested, if you would like, you can put a question on there. And again, I was sort of debating, should we just raise hands, do whatever. But if you change it going forward, if this is successful. But if you have a question you'd like to write on it, something that you are curious, how does the church feel about this? You know, anything that's going on in the world. There's a lot of stuff in the news. You're probably thinking, I don't know what I think about these things. Doesn't make sense. If there's anything you want to ask about, bring up. Could be about dating, could be about money, could be anything in life, could be about parents, could be about church, could be about school, teachers, financial situations. You guys have anything? Anything I want to just talk about? Again, the next question. So question one, you probably remember this one now because we just said it. Who is God? God. What is man? You know what is man? No, no? Here you go.
Composed of body, soul, and name, image, and likeness.
All right. lot of people on the list. It's not good. Or we involve. I mean, like that, but more than that. Why did God make you? Want to read that for me?
Know him, love him, serve him, do his will, and be happy with him forever and ever.
Good. Why can there be but one God? Why can there be but one God?
There can be but one God because God, being supreme and infinite, cannot have an equal.
All right, why don't we stand up and we'll do our prayers. We're going to be doing new prayers every class. Please, again, hold on to these. Put them in that folder. Let's all do the sign of the cross. The Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Our Father. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. And we're going to do a Hail Mary, please. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now at the hour of our death. Amen. All right, be seated, please. And thank you for voices, so thank you. That's going to track how a lot of seventh graders. Who here knows what they want to do after high school? What do you want to do?
Become a doctor or surgeon.
A doctor or surgeon? Very good. A lot of school. Yeah. What's up?
An engineer.
An engineer? Very good. Anybody over here, you know what you want to do after high school? What's that? Very good. Especially now. Who else knows what they want to do after school? Yeah. What's that? Animated? Cartoons or like what? How about the Rowan Black? You guys know what's going on in high school? No idea? What do you got? Yeah? What's going on? Biology? Who wants to go to college? All right. You guys get that right? I like the opposite. Get over here.
It's the same thing. Polish songs.
What do you guys want to go? I went to go to college, right? Hey, let's.
I'm not singing.
You guys want to go to high school? Travel? Who here has friends that get into trouble? You do? How bad? You got it. What's that? You have friends that get into trouble? How bad?
I just have dumb friends.
Dumb friends? Okay.
One of them being a French rock. As a guy. Yeah, and then he went. And then he went out of school for like 10 days. Just goes back to bed.
Is he sick or gonna go suspended?
No, he puked in the bathroom. Like all
Why did you do?
because of the French rock. It was sitting on the wall. And looking yeah, I like sitting around seeing people, so.
Yeah?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, too.
I like multiple friends.
All right, I want to ask everybody what their favorite movie is. Favorite movie. Movie that you like change or like was kind of what it is. Is that right? To where? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you wanna go now? Yeah. You gotta do What's that?
Oh my god, it's right there.
All right, I want to leave you guys with one last thought before we wrap it up. Just in the bathroom. We're gonna hoping they'll come out soon. You guys ever in a situation where somebody was picking on somebody else and everybody's kind of just sort of watching and giggling and laughing and you sort of feel nervous, you're like, I don't know what to do. And you ever say to yourself, like, I wish I could do something, but if I do, everybody's gonna be looking at me. I hear you guys. I know. How about this? Have you ever been in a situation where that was happening and someone else stood up and said to whoever was doing it, why don't you just knock it off and roll? You ever see that happen? Did your respect for that person go up or go down? Up, right? A lot? Right. Remember I said early on that I hope that you guys, after we do some of these classes, get a little more confidence. That's the kind of confidence I hope you will get. Right? That, again, doesn't mean you have to always jump into every situation and be that guy to try to fix everything, be the hero. Sometimes not. But just sort of knowing that that kind of a person gets respect, it'll help you to sort of steer more toward that direction and realize that's the kind of guy I want to be. I want to be that one, not the one who's sitting around giggling and whatever, because you don't know what else to do. Does that make sense? Is he okay? Did everybody sign in this? Who's here? Are you gonna come back in 2 weeks? No? By the way, I do have like a little homework assignment. It's not like real homework though. But for next class, you guys all have notebooks. I want you to write in it. And like I said, do it if you choose. If you don't, either way. Think about the things that you do with your time that you have to do. Like, come up with like 12 things. Be like, homework is one, obviously. Going to school is one. If you do sports, that's one. Spending time with your family is one. as you're doing that, you could also think about the different roles that you play. What do I mean by that? I mean, like, well, you have parents, so you are a son or a daughter, that's a role. You're a student, that's a role. If you play a sport, right, you're a teammate, that's a role. Just kind of something to think about, because next time we talk, I want to talk a little bit about how you sort of can organize that, how you organize that time to try to get things done you need to get done, and try to make time for the things that you'd rather be doing, if that makes sense. Sound good? All right, guys. Thank you. 7:45. Got it?
Thank you.
You're welcome. See you next time.
Yeah.